We need to build an army of women.
Okay. Listen, women. We are back. We have one of our favorites. We always have to have you on the show. Always have to have you on the show.
You're so
Dianna
informative.
Muller.
Yes, thank you for coming.
You do so much for the Second Amendment and your community, and we just love to hear everything that's going on with you. Plus, you're like an awesome shooter and great friend.
Oh, thanks for having me.
And I just want to like really just take note of your fit, as the young kids say today, because it's on point.
Oh, my outfit.
Yeah, that's what they say.
She was like, I'm working out. I was like, I don't really
No,
work out.
right? See, exactly.
You should have been here when we had Sydney on the show,
That's so
giving
funny.
us all of the updated words for right now. That yes, you have to go back and your fit.
Your
Fit's on
fit.
point.
That's right.
Exactly.
Got it.
Basically. See, you've got
Thank
it.
you.
Picking up. See, she's picking up.
Thank
on
you.
us, like very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I always have to up my game around you girls.
Oh my
No, trust me, we're way behind too. That's why we bring Sydney on the show to help us feel a little more relevant and up to date with all this stuff. So, well, you got to get us caught up.
Okay.
Like, what have you been doing? What's gone on this year with the DC project?
What's
Tell
happening
us a little
with
bit
like the Second Amendment
Yeah.
and like Congress and legislation?
Lots.
Yeah.
Okay.
People see it. People feel it. But for the audience, we'll say that the DC Project is Women for Gun Rights. We believe that education is the key to safety, not legislation. So we're really kind of finding our stride being a counter-visual and counter-voice to Moms Demand Action. Moms Demand Action has been around for about 10 years, and they've done their Bloomberg-funded $60 million budget, and they're doing really they think awesome work. They're doing very detrimental work to the Second Amendment, influencing not only their legislators, but their friends, their families, and their communities. Mm-hmm. So they have the big budget. We don't. So we're just trying to mimic, kind of see where they are and step in. Upcoming, we've got a huge deal that's kind of brewing in Tennessee. The Tennessee governor had lost a friend in, I think, the last mass shooting that was at the bank, and he had a knee-jerk reaction of like, okay, we're going to do red flag laws. And then he kind of walked away from that, but there's going to be a special session about gun control starting August 21st. And we expect
in the Tennessee House?
In Tennessee, in the Tennessee State Legislature. And we know that the antis are organizing and moving and training for that. So we are trying to do the same thing on a much smaller scale. But if there's anybody in Tennessee, I'm going to jump in and show up. And because the governor has backed off of that. And I want to mention this. So last week there was a poll that came out. So an independent group did a poll with Tennessee voters about red flag laws. Mm-hmm. And they asked the question, do you think law enforcement and government should focus on removing the person that's the problem from the community or the guns from the community? And it was 84% said remove the person, which means that they understand that it's not the gun that is the issue. Right. It is the people that are the issue. So that's a huge news for our community to be able to have those talking points of like, hey, this is your constituents, your voters, your neighborhoods, your communities that are saying, we don't want more gun control. We don't think gun control is the answer.
Tennessee's a friendly state, right?
It's mostly, but it's, everybody is feeling the pressure of the social engineering and the mass
Look, it's coming
think.
It's in Texas. I mean, it's no different. Luckily, we have an incredible, there's a senator called Brian Hughes. He married one of our friends, and he went line by line in the legislation that was just passed in the House but was going to the Senate on things that they wanted to start implementing in Texas as far as like gun laws go, and he stopped all of it.
We owe him a milkshake or something.
No, we do. Like it was amazing, like what he was able to do. And I forget, I don't know all the legal jargon and everything he was talking about, but it was on the basis of, something legal. He was like, this doesn't make any sense to the bill that you guys are wanting to get passed. So he was able to get all these like amendments taken out of the bill so they could actually just start focusing on this one bill that they were talking about, which had nothing to do with guns. So they just try to attach these random amendments to it and try to get it passed because people aren't paying attention to it.
Right.
But it's no longer just Democrats pushing to take away your gun rights. Like I had many conversations with people in Texas that, have traditionally voted one way, traditionally vote Republican. They were calling The House and Senate said, if you don't do something right now, this is after the Allen shooting.
Yeah.
They said, if you don't do something right now, we will never vote for you again.
See,
So,
now that's how important the DC Project is, and
Mm-hmm.
for women to step up into that space and say, hey, wait, guys, because it's going to have to take women to talk to women
Yep.
about, a different narrative. And,
Right.
and that poll right there just kind of exemplifies how it's not true. The mainstream media message about guns is not true.
Yeah.
But
it
people
does-
are definitely influenced. I just I just had lunch with a friend of mine yesterday, and she came up with this whole, and she's in the industry, and she like it's her blood, and she said, well, people have to have a driver's license to drive a car. Maybe they should have to have a license. Doesn't it make sense to have mandatory training? I was like, no. So do we need to have this conversation? Do I need to have a license to speak freely and use my First
Right.
Amendment?
Right.
No.
Right.
I don't need that for the Second Amendment. And if we're worried about that, let's put education back in schools. Let's put firearms education. And if we're worried about people unsafe and not knowing, then let's give them the tools to go train.
Yeah.
Right. But
Don't
you also-
make it free to go train.
Right.
Don't make it a burden and a hurdle for people to do that, because not everybody can afford to do that.
Well, and then going back to like what you're saying about you need a driver's license to drive, how many people are driving without a license? So it doesn't matter.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, sure, there are rules and regulations to get to where you need to be or to have access to something like driving. And most responsible people are going to do those things because you need to have a driver's license, if you need the ID and all those steps you need for whatever it is. But half the people are going to still drive without a license.
But let's also not forget that driving is a privilege. It is not a right.
I mentioned that too.
Completely different. I mean,
Right.
we're not comparing apples to apples
Right,
here.
exactly. And I think that's the problem is like so many people when they talk about, making gun control change and things, they try to compare things they should not be compared together.
Well, you can see how much work that we have to do even internally within our own choir. I always say that, there's a big choir. There's a congregation of firearms people, FUDs and things that don't even get engaged. They're the congregation, but the choir is supposed to know how to sing and sing the songs. And we've got a whole choir full of people who don't even know the words to the songs.
Yeah.
So there's that's the work that we need to do. There's a lot of work that we can do to help our own community.
Well, and I think that we have an opportunity within the Second Amendment community to every one of these reactions to mass shootings that says, just do something, just put laws on the books, just do something, and they're all going to feel better about themselves because they raised the minimum age to 21. They banned assault weapons. They did something, and it makes them feel good. Makes them feel good, but yet none of them have done anything to ensure that it's not going to happen again.
Right.
They don't talk about adding, let's address mental health. Let's make our schools harder targets. Why is that never the first thing that comes to mind for all these people that want to just jump right to take
against it? Well, we're not going to do. That's not. I mean, the president of the United States said that. That's his position.
Because the gun is a scary object, and that's the thing that needs to be taken away.
And we need to disarm you in order to control you.
Fine, you can those laws. Maybe law-abiding citizens will turn over their guns. Maybe. But what are you going to do? Go door to door and be like, hey, are you going to use your gun in a criminal activity?
What about the guy that just stabbed everybody in the park the other day in France?
Right. They don't need, if they're going to do something, they don't need a gun to do it. They have a car. They are running people over in the streets.
Knives, whatever. If they're going to commit evil, if they want to do something, they're going to find a way to do it.
They're going to find a way to do it. But I'm like, none of this ensures that you get guns out of the hands of criminals.
Well, I'm glad that you brought that up because we do, when we go to Washington, D.C., we do, or we talk to our legislators in our state bodies, we go with solutions. And our solution that we provide or suggest is for mental health is Hold My Guns. It's a non-governmental agency, Sarah Joy Albrecht. And then for school security is Faster Saves Lives. It's a violence response for training everyone from the lunch lady all the way up to the teacher on not only if they choose to and they're qualified to carry, they can do that and be a frontline responder, but they can also do medical training. And then on education, it's Kids Safe Foundation. So it's, we have solutions and we want to be at the table, but you can see what's going on in our world is that there's only one side that has the megaphone and the control. and it's really hard. So that's why it's important for people to join, be a member of all of the groups. Be a member of the DC Project. It's free to join, and it just puts you into your state capsule, and you can plug in that way.
So
And
what kind of, if you become a member of the DC Project, what kind of involvement, like what is it that you guys would be asking of somebody who joins DC Project to do?
well, it's really up to what's on their heart. I
Okay.
mean, they can be as involved or as quiet as they want, but they could just be informed of like, hey, there's a hearing coming up, and some women may have a story that they don't mind sharing, and why it's important for them to carry. But they can go to hearings, they can go to festivals. Whoever your state director is should be putting up like. Where I just say, watch Moms Demand and try to show up wherever they do.
Yeah.
And it was pretty funny because it was this year, earlier this year, there was a hearing in the House Judiciary, and we weren't testifying, but we had some girls go because we knew that the red shirts were going to be there. And sure enough, we had a group, only 2 came into their picture, but they took a picture of their group, and there's 2 blue shirts sitting in the front row with them. And it was they tweeted that. So
that's funny.
I'm like, that's right there.
Yep.
Is what we're looking for.
Yeah. So what's on the docket right now? What specific, or is there any specific legislation that you guys are actively fighting at the federal level?
Federal level, I would have to go back and think.
Are y'all
Nothing
more
right off the
focused on
top.
state right now?
Well, we're focused on Tennessee right now.
Okay.
We're focused on Tennessee, but like the girls in the Northeast are crushing it. Massachusetts, Rhode Island, they actually have
Awesome.
a show like on their local
Awesome.
TV station.
That's amazing.
That's amazing. They're doing some fantastic work all over the country. Michigan, Minnesota is doing some crazy stuff right now. So it's really the fights in the states, which is why, I
Gotcha.
didn't want to start a new organization, but once I realized that the federal level isn't where really the fight is,
Yep.
and asked the girls that were going to Washington, D.C. with me, hey, go back and do the same thing at the state level.
Do you see states' rights being more detrimental to the Second Amendment than federal right now?
Detrimental and
is it going to come down to states are going to implement their own restrictions for firearm owners, and that is going to, maybe that's how they're going to get this gun control passed. It might not happen at the federal level.
Well, they do it all the time in the Northeast. I mean, I think it was Connecticut that just implemented, I think 22s, like 22 caliber things are done, like all semi-auto are done.
Meaning?
Done like banned.
Even handguns?
Yeah.
Huh, okay.
I'll have to, go back and check
Yeah.
that. But there's some, and then
Why?
the bracing and things like that. It doesn't matter why. The goal is to disarm. And,
Yes.
It doesn't, whatever the reason
wherever they can
is,
start, whatever
the
they
reason
can get
is, and they
past,
just
yeah.
death by 1,000 cuts. I want to say it was Delaware that is either considering or have already passed like tactical training, like paramilitary training. They're going to outlaw it.
Delaware?
So, I think it was Delaware.
Wow.
So they're going to outlaw that.
And
like-
what do I do for a living? Would you think that would include competitions?
Right. That's
and
what I
things
mean. Like,
Well, it's a slippery. Anytime it's left
because
up to
who-
their,
definition of defining,
it. Yeah.
What is tactical training? What is this? And the people who are making those decisions or creating those rules have no experience in it, don't even know. So
Right.
they see, whatever is in the movies and be like, oh, that is not allowed. We
Right.
cannot let American citizens be able to,
Right.
learn how to do that.
Yeah. It's crazy, but there's nobody coming to save us.
No.
And it's up to we the people to get educated, and really that's where it starts, is because, like I said, people don't understand how to talk about the Second Amendment. And what I want to give your audience is that on our DC Project website, on our landing page, there's a one-page document that you can download, and it's got little, like 3 bullet points under each hot topic of red flag laws, gun-free
perfect.
zones,
We'll make sure we link that in our show
Yeah.
notes as well, because that's what I was about to ask you. Like you were saying, people get involved and understand, know what's going on is like, where can they go do that? Because I
Yeah.
think that's a lot of people don't know. And it's great that you have that, you're providing that information.
Yeah. It's a nice little cheat sheet
Yeah.
if you're going to have an interview or if you're going to go to the Thanksgiving table
Oh,
or
gosh.
whatever you need to be refreshed on and,
Yeah.
and have some talking points. It's great.
Well,
Great.
I think as long as you fundamentally understand what the Second Amendment is and why it's there in the first place, and you always go back to that, it makes the conversations a lot easier. But like you're saying, most people don't really know what that was rooted in, why those that are Second Amendment advocates fight so hard for it. And, you know, it's why the media can make us seem so callous that we're putting children's lives, you know, or gun rights over children's lives. And it's like, no, actually, we're not.
Gonna protect our children.
We actually want to protect our children. We
Right.
realize that laws aren't going to stop criminals. So we want to do the logical thing to actually protect our children.
Common sense.
Yes.
To me, that's why it's so crazy is because it's like they talk about common sense gun control. And I was like, common sense would be the people, the cities and the states that have the most violence. They should adopt the laws of the cities and the states that don't have the most
But that
violence.
Right.
Too simple. Like, hello.
I know.
So Di, I know you said that you guys need help in Tennessee. So in terms of the DC project, how can our audience, how can they reach out to their friends? What can they do to help the DC project, to help you guys? What do you guys need?
Well, we need numbers. So
Okay.
sign up. I mean, we need to build an army of women.
Okay. Listen, women, sign up.
Sign up. It's for free. Tell your friends to sign up for free. And then we need a Bloomberg. So if you have anybody who's the philanthropic people, I don't think I said that right, but you know what I mean?
Yep.
That have the same mentality, introduce us to them or mention us to them and connect us to them. So those are the two big things is numbers and money.
So if you guys know anybody can help out, you guys can, reach out to us individually, send us an email at info@NotYourAverageGunGirls, and we can get that information over to Di to make sure that you guys are helping to support the Second Amendment. And going back to like what you had said earlier, it's about the women having conversations with each other is how we're going to help move and change the opinions and thoughts of other women, because it's our experiences that we share. It's why we do what we do, is because we want to make sure that we are just having these conversations so we can build this community, get the changes needed federally that we need and locally, but also, make sure that we all have our right to the Second Amendment and can defend ourselves. And it's just like one of those great things.
What's your response to Gavin Newsom wanting to institute the 28th Amendment?
My response to California is that it's imploding.
Yeah.
It's not even, I don't understand how they can look themselves in the mirror and say that, and how anybody else can. Why isn't anybody saving themselves or saving them? It's like, hey, Gavin,
Because they want somebody to come save them.
This is not going well.
Right.
Can we change course?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like everything that gets thrown out there that sounds crazy coming from California in 5 to 10 years, it gets implemented. And so it's like they throw out the craziest ideas knowing that it sounds crazy at the time, but it takes root. And if people don't stand up and fight against it or get informed on what it's actually talking about, then it happens.
You repeat it enough, it becomes truth.
Absolutely. We see it all the time.
Yeah, that's what they do.
Yep. So
All right, Di. So before we end, we're going to do some quick, well, they're not that quick, but some rapid fire questions.
Okay,
for you,
rapid fire. I like quick.
What skill are you looking to master?
What skill? Oh my gosh. Do I have a time limit on?
she's like, I'm already a master.
I can't. Can I
That's why I said it's
master
not
one
really
of the
rapid.
skills? Can I master one of the skills that I've already started?
Yes.
I'm going to focus on shotgun. I'm going to Thailand in December for a world shotgun match.
Oh, wow.
That is
focused
amazing.
on shotgun will
Okay.
be my mastery this year.
Awesome.
Okay. What's one thing every competitive shooter should invest in?
One thing that every competitor should invest in, it really depends on from 0 to 10 if you're a beginner or if you're in, but I would say that, getting training with a really good person is important. And even at my level, I love to take classes because we don't have coaches.
Yeah.
I want a coach.
Right.
I want somebody to crack the whip and give me a different drill and tell me
So
something.
like when you're getting into competitive shooting, you just kind of have to go out there and find a friend and hope that they can kind of help you along the way.
Yeah. And it's and try to jump into a class because they're not everywhere. I mean, because
Yeah.
as a competitor, I still compete. I don't teach all that much. I don't have like a whole big, but there are classes out there with competitors, and good quality trainers is important.
Okay. And then the final question is one piece of advice you would give your younger self.
Oh man. One thing I feel like I didn't grow up and I didn't start paying attention to the world until I almost left police work. I spent 22 years in a bubble, and I went to work. I was happy. I had my head in the sand. I wasn't involved in my community. I didn't know anything about politics. So the one thing I would tell myself is to get plugged in sooner and read Rich Dad, Poor Dad sooner.
Yeah, that's a good
I've
one.
always been a Dave Ramsey all my life, and then I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I was like,
Boom, man, I've been saving all my money and trying to pay off debt, and I can actually leverage that debt. I know. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. I feel like though a lot of people in general, like in that younger age, like when you're growing up and you're just getting started, you're working, you're trying to buy a house and all, like that's what you do. You kind of just live your life. And it's not until like you get older that all of a sudden, either something has gotten you involved or something has like flipped that switch that opened your eyes and you start paying more attention. Unless like that stuff is, I feel like ingrained in you through like your upbringing when you're little, you're not really interested until you need to be.
right.
Well, they see a lot of that with this audience.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't even get into the firearm space or even think about self-defense tools in general until something happens to them. That's why we keep saying, like, be proactive, not reactive, if you can be, as much as you can be. So we really appreciate you taking time to come on the show
Love
and
it. Love
tell
you
us all
guys.
about this.
Yeah.
It's so informative, and we love it. And I hope it's not another year before we get you back on the show, but your schedule is crazy, and we at least know we will see you at YWLS.
That's always a plus. And then let everyone know where they can find you, the DC Project, and whatever information you want to share with our
Okay,
audience.
so I'm on Instagram, Die3Gun, DI, the number 3 gun. Facebook, Dianna Muller, 3 gun. And then the DC Project is on Facebook, the DC Project. And then on Instagram, it's DC_Project Foundation, I think.
We will link all of that in the show
Yeah.
notes. So, yes.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Di. And you guys stay tuned because we've got some more amazing guests coming right after this.
Not Your Average Gun Girl Show and its related companies, Alexo Athletica LLC and Stami Tactical LLC, shares information that may potentially have legal implications for its listeners. A reminder that laws vary for each state, and we encourage listeners to seek local legal advice to understand applicable laws. Any items, services, products, and advice mentioned during the Not Your Average Gun Girl Show should be used at your own discretion in accordance with your local and state laws, and you should follow applicable manufacturer's instructions. Not Your Average Gun Girls, Alexo Athletica LLC, and Stami Tactical LLC cannot be held liable for your actions based on the information shared.